Hi and good evening, everyone. My name is Albert, and this is Vlogs About Nothing. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your night to join me. I really appreciate it. Tonight, I want to talk about a couple of things. Both of these things might make you feel really uncomfortable, so FYI, you feel me? I want to talk about banned documentaries, and I want to talk about North Korea. Because, we gotta talk about something, you feel me? And link in the description below to two excellent sources that will let you know a lot, in a better way. Like all the stuff we're about to talk nothing about that actually has some meaning. But you feel me? They got like they're good at what they do. Unlike here on Vlogs About Nothing, where we kind of just rant about whatever it is we want to rant about, which again, tonight is banned documentaries and North Korea. Forgive me if I sound like my nose is congested. I have a really big nose, and I think I've been sick or something the last week. I'm not sure at this point, but um, periodically I just feel like I have congestion, and I try to like sing it out and I try to talk it out. So hopefully by like five or six video tonight, I sound a little bit more normal. But just quick, I'm just saying, I know I can hear it. I can, I know, and it bothers me tremendously. But, we still need to get to 1,000 videos, and there's so much that needs to get done that it's almost unbelievable. But if there's anyone who can pull this off, you're looking at them, and it's gonna happen. So let's talk about band documentaries. Okay, link in the description below. There's actually some really cool band documentaries. What do I mean by that? I mean that I strongly feel that sometimes things that make us feel uncomfortable are things that also make us grow in kinds of unexpected ways. And obviously, a lot of that stems from things like shockumentaries and being told sort of the unabridged, unbiased kind of truth that a lot of the world doesn't want to talk about, and that's the fact that there's still a lot of places in the world where a lot of evil stuff goes down. You feel me? I mean, there's really no other way to label it. I mean, like, being in America is one thing, being in an industrialized nation is another thing, living under a capitalist ideology is a way, but there are some places in the world that are just like straight hell, you feel me? And a lot of the documentaries talked, and I think he talks about five documentaries, and they all deal with things that are awful, that are just absolutely awful. For example, one of the documentaries goes into great length about this mental health institution in Massachusetts during the 60s, and there's just like all this raw footage. It might not be from the 60s, don't take me out of context. Link in the description below. They talk about it in way better detail than I do, and I've already said that. But nonetheless, there was this landmark case, and eventually the documentary got released, but it showed how people were being treated awfully, like just really badly, and all while being under the pretense that like they were supposed to be getting rehabilitation to get better, but they were just all being treated like animals. And so the state of Massachusetts obviously didn't want that kind of, flavor on their palate, you feel me? And so they did everything they could to block the release of that particular documentary for like 20 years or something until it finally came out with a huge disclaimer that said there had been all these changes, since the movie or whatever, since the documentary. There's another one that talks, and actually, this one was fake. I did not know that there was a documentary made about four American travelers who went down to the Amazon rainforest to shoot a documentary about cannibals, that like people that eat other people. You feel me? And then like they were missing for a substantial period of time, and then another filmmaker went down there, retrieved the footage, and the whole world thought it was real, that like these people actually went missing, and then footage was found. So it was like such a big deal that these people had to go on national television to show themselves, and it was like a whole ordeal, but it turned out to be fake. You know what I mean? Like the whole thing was fake. It never happened. It was just a part of the way that filmmaker decided to release that particular documentary. And there's another documentary in there that goes over like the relationship that different tribes around the world have with things that are awful. That's the first one. I forget the name of it, but it's like an Italian movie, and it was banned for a long time too. But you know the thing about banned documentaries, and I mean I come from a place where I was taught about censorship from a Ray Bradbury, Fahrenheit 451, Anthem, Brave New World kind of a perspective. You feel me? All those we actually I had a really good English teacher, honestly, in high school, and all of my English teachers in high school were actually quite phenomenal. Now that I think about it, they were actually very smart people who were very enlightened about some things, and so I remember going through a lot of that stuff in school. You feel me? And like always being on the side of not censoring things. I mean, I understand we live in a world now where it's considered woke, and there's like this battle that's made up between boomers and like people that have brains as it concerns the kind of I feel like freedom of speech is something that isn't convenient and it's not comfortable, and while it absolutely should not foster hate or bigotry, I feel like both hate and bigotry still have their place for protection. And I know that sounds weird. It does, but it's not quite criminal. You feel me? I mean, like, something that makes you uncomfortable isn't necessarily criminal. It's not a criminal thing to make you feel uncomfortable. But depending on the context of what is within that thing in and of itself, it can actually be criminal. You feel me? I mean, like, there are certain pieces of publications that should never be deemed legal or available to spread at all in any way. And you'd hope and you'd think that technology would be at a place where things that are on the dark and deep web can be eradicated with little ease, because that's kind of where we can be with not just tech crime but just crime in general. I feel like it's something that we allow to happen instead of actively trying to combat and prevent these things from happening. And so freedom of speech and freedom of expression is really important. Without it, like, there's really no fine line between totalitarianism and straight up fascism, and at least the ideal, like the perceived idea that conceptually speaking, freedom of speech does exist, and it's not illegal to say things that make you feel uncomfortable, and it's not illegal to point out things in society that are of absolute truth and reflect a kind of side that we don't want to be seen in, right? Because that's just, it's bad for business. And when do we draw the line where like we actively seek systematic change within like these given parameters? I've always said change comes from within. You feel me? All these different things. But what I'm just also saying is that I am a huge. I'm a fan. I'm an absolute. It's necessary to have some kinds of freedom of speech, and it's unfortunate when documentaries get banned because they do things like point out the injustices that occur within state medical run facilities. And these are again state run institutions. You can imagine how little incentive private companies have to provide any kind of meaningful care in any kind of level as it concerns healthcare, and it just simply just does not exist. It does not exist, and it will not ever exist until healthcare is universal, and it's not an incentive to give people the lowest amount of treatment possible while charging the state the highest amount of money possible. I mean, I don't know what extortion is, you feel me? But there are a lot of bad actors in how that particular service, how that particular industry is, right? Servicing, like the fact that there's going to be more boomers here and Xers, like, than there will be any kind of working segment of the population in the next 20 years. A little scary. You feel me? The fact that there'll be more people that are over the age of 60 than there are people that are under the age of 40, right? Like, that's like a big deal, you know? And so I think we got to think about these things. And I feel like band documentaries, and I guess we didn't even talk about North Korea, right? We didn't get that far, but I'm still going to include the link to an interesting video about entertainment made in North Korea. And boy, do they have an interesting history. Who would have known that Japan was like such a player the last 200 years? Like, this is something I'm just learning about, right? It's like, Japan did what? You feel me? Like, what? What happened? North Korea has 25 million people, and they live in what kind of a world? Like, I'm not sure. It's hard to understand some of these things, right? We live in there's a big world out there, and a lot goes down. And I hope that you guys have a really good night. We're done talking about this now. So next video, let's talk about North Korea, because I got some interesting stuff going on there. And by interesting, I mean like cringe, and I mean arguably cool. I mean, who doesn't want to play volleyball and ride horses all day and not pay for anything? I mean, I don't know. It sounds like an interesting idea. I guess at the weird cost of having to like worship another alive human being or something. Like, I'm not sure. Like, we've taken the deification process, the deification process, like the deity. Anyways, I hope that you guys have a really good night. I look forward to talking about North Korea because it's an interesting place, honestly. And yeah, so have a good night. Bye.